Everybody, welcome to Matt Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm Andrew Zarian, and I'm joined by my personal vaccine, Rich Stambolian.
Ooh, I'm gonna inject you. Can you?
Rich, second show today, this week.
We did our conspiracy theory show at 5 a.m. with the
uh,
lights off.
with the lights off. It was a spooky show. No, this is a second Matt Men this week. I thought it was a good time to kind of do this. A lot of us have a lot of free time on our hands. Obviously, I'm not going to Manhattan. I'm working from home. And I thought, why not get some extra shows out there? And of course, I mean, today, after the news yesterday for Wrestlemania and everything with AEW, I thought it would be a great time for Rich and I to kind of come back and do a show. And at the end of the show, we're going to concentrate a lot on the chat room and do your Q&A. I want this to be a very chat heavy show. I want to try something new here. We got a lot of people here in the chat room. Mr. Andy's in the chat room. We got OCW Fed TV in the chat room. Green Lives Matter that just bought, by the way, a $20 exclusive Enchante photo. This is what we're doing, Rich. We are going to create OnlyFans pages.
Is this? Did you send him a digital photo, or was it a 8x10 hard copy
with lipstick on it?
Oh, that's the best. Mwah. Wish you were here with a nice little kiss.
That's what I did.
Oh no.
he got a digital photo, but if he signs up for my OnlyFans, he'll get an autograph photo with my lips with lipstick on the photo, right on the piece of deal. that's where the kiss goes.
You should do if honestly, I think we should add 8x10s to the Patreon, and every time you sign it, draw just like a little gold schmeckle and Enchante and kiss it. Just have a little what do you call, like a factory lineup. Just just kissing and putting just kissing and putting them down. I'll help you with that. That'd be great.
I'm a 36-year-old man. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm contemplating an OnlyFans site to pay my mortgage. So this is where we're at in life right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about all the news. So before we get into AEW, I do want to talk. I gotta lower the president's briefing right now on my TV. Before we get into AEW, which I thought was a fantastic show yesterday, WWE. Whoa, look at this! What's happening here? WWE announced that WrestleMania is going to be 2 nights. It's going to be on Saturday and Sunday, because I cannot imagine them doing a 6-hour WrestleMania from the Performance Center. What do you think of them actually going forward with WrestleMania and doing it 2 nights, Rich?
I think it's going to be nuts. I love it. Listen, I know we're going to get into the AEW stuff later, but if that's any indication of what could be done in an empty arena, forget it, man. The sky's the limit. I don't mind the 2-night thing. I think the Gronk thing is very weird. I know that Vince loves him big and dumb, and you don't get much bigger and dumber than Gronk, so it would be interesting. No offense to Gronk, I heard he's a big fan of the show, but I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be weird. I think we're still treading new waters, and I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks, this just doesn't end up being the status quo for wrestling for the next year.
So I do not have confidence that WWE is going to make this look amazing. I'm telling you guys right now, because Rich apparently called it yesterday. The story coming out is that this is going to be multi-locational based, this WrestleMania. Beautiful. So obviously they're gonna have Edge and Randy Orton are gonna have that last man standing match. That's gonna be all over the place. So that could be outside. Your prediction of the Undertaker and AJ Styles having a casket match in a graveyard makes so much sense now. And when they announced that they're gonna have locational based matches, I was like, oh my god, Rich hit the nail on the head right now with this.
Ba boom,
ba boom. I would love them to have a graveyard match. I mean, you got to keep it different. I just do not want to watch WrestleMania in that building. I really don't. I understand they're doing it. A lot of the speculation is that it's for insurance reasons, because they're going to be able to recoup the cost. This is a $20-30 million show that they put on every year, and they're not going to make anything. It's going to cost some money, so they're gonna have a loss with the show, and they're gonna recoup that. I hope that the plan moving forward is to do a much larger show in the following months. The rumor is that they're looking at the Garden for a possible show. I mean, it is a rumor, but that rumor has some truth behind it. I believe SummerSlam is in Boston. I don't know how big of maybe they could relocate Boston and just do a gigantic venue somewhere. Go back to Tampa for SummerSlam. Anything.
I agree with that 100%. Also, you can't do pyro in the Performance Center, right?
I don't know. Can you? I don't know how that works.
I feel like the ceilings are just way too low. Like you can't have giant pyro. I feel like it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very weird. And I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Do you think somebody went to Vince and was like, "Hey, this is what they did in Japan this year. They split it on 2 nights."
I know that the concept of splitting it was something they were looking at doing a while ago. This was discussed and everybody turned it down. The only reason why they're splitting is because I think they've realized that the Performance Center is not the venue to put on a 6-hour show with nobody in the building.
Yeah,
it's not gonna.
It's long.
There's not a lot they could do. But here's a great example, right? Let's talk about last night. And one of the reasons why I'm doing the show right now is because I was very surprised how well that got pulled off yesterday for AEW.
On AEW, yes.
Yep. Top to bottom, that show was stellar. And I did not miss the fans.
Didn't you get lost in that main event?
Yes, I did get lost in the main event, 100%. There was so much noise from the boys, the heels on one side and the baby faces on the other. The commentators had, 3 men on the booth, and it was a lot of talking, a lot of noise. The boys in the ring were making noise. So, it was kind of full as far as it sounding. Them having the hard cam face the ramp was the best thing they could have done. Because now you kind of closed the whole thing in and made it more like a stage show than anything else.
100%.
That was the first time I'm gonna say AEW as far as a product beat the WWE overall. I mean, obviously they had the availability for this venue, which WWE did not. WWE's running it in the Performance Center. This may change the concept of how they're running these shows now. Why can't WWE just get a smaller venue? You don't have to go into a 15,000 person venue. Get a smaller venue, face the ramp, shorter ramp, stage, and just do it the same way.
Well, it's unfortunate that they can't do that at Full Sail because Full Sail is effectively shut down because it's a college, right? The Performance Center, I do agree with you. I think if they did it more like AEW yesterday, it would look a lot better. It would be more believable. And, why not have the backstage crew sitting ringside?
Why not? Yeah.
It was so much fun. AEW was so much fun yesterday. The whole show was put together extremely well, and I'm glad they didn't rely too much on the pre-packaged highlight stuff that we've been seeing on WWE television for the last week. Monday's a good example.
Did you expect that to be the case?
Not really, because like we mentioned on Tuesday, these guys think outside of the box, and that's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
And we even talked about how, listen, just put the roster outside, and they did. They put heels on one side, faces on the other, a lot of trash talking, a lot of noise. I'll tell you something funny too. Like at the beginning of the show, my wife was like, "Why are they talking so much?" And I was like, "Because when you think about wrestling, you don't really take into account the cacophony of noise that the crowd makes. So you hit the intro, crowd roar, everything has to have noise or something to carry the show. Because there's no crowd noise, you have to kind of talk over it and go from segment to segment in that way. That's what they did with Cody's big promo in the beginning. No crowd noise, no pop. You have to fill up airtime. You can't have that pause, otherwise you're going to lose people to a different channel.
Yeah, no, the opening was different. I mean, this is the thing, right? And I'm not. Again, I'm not one of these people that follows AEW blindly. I don't follow WWE blindly. I love pro wrestling, and that's how I kind of see it as a whole, more than just factions of companies. What the difference between WWE, and it's not that WWE cannot pull this production off. It's that they are so set in the structure that they have that they would have never done this. And it's not in their thinking. It's not in their philosophy to think, oh, wait a minute, you know what? The hard camera should not be facing empty chairs. It's just not in their thinking. They follow a procedure that has been put in place for the last 30 to 20 years. And that is how they do it. That is how they shoot. That is how they do entrances. And you could tell, and we spoke about this on Tuesday when we did the show, you could tell the guys that have worked pre-overly produced WWE era that began probably like 2005 forward, and the guys that haven't. And a great example is Edge. Edge came out there and cut, a hell of a promo, looked dead into the camera when he said it, knew how to speak differently because he's in front of nobody. And then you got people like Becky Lynch that's holding, that's looking at the hard cam and looking at the audience for a reaction. It just, and I'm not blaming Becky. It's just how they're trained. And it's not just, I'm just singling Becky Lynch out because that's the one that came to mind. But, even they did it on SmackDown where, the girls came out, that match that they had, they were working the crowd.
Right. It was very awkward. And also, I agree with you 100%. Unfortunately, the modern WWE style is, listen, just follow the blueprint. Follow the blueprint. Show me the blueprints. Where are the blueprints? Show me the blueprints, And people, it's hard to get away from that, right? Because that's what works. That's what's worked for 25 years.
Hey, and then you had Cesaro and Daniel Bryan that put on a unbelievable, great showing.
I'm just going to make noises at you.
It's a very different thing. So back to AEW though, somebody made the joke, and I found it funny. It was cute. They said, "Well, you got to remember these are independent guys. They're used to working in front of nobody."
Right.
So, I thought having MJF out there and having they were gambling on the matches, that was great.
Awesome.
The big reveal. The exalted one.
Two big reveals.
Two big reveals. The exalted one is Brody Lee. God damn, this guy did not speak once his entire WWE run, and he cut. What a great promo.
What a great promo. Let me tell you something though. He's got to lose that goofy in-ring gear because he looks like Mabel. Like terrible. That's my one gripe. That's my one gripe about it. Like, because he looked cool. He always looked cool in WWE, right? From the Wyatt family to the Bludgeon Brothers stuff, like he looked great. I think visually, aesthetically, he's basically wearing sweatpants and a wife beater. Can I say wife beater?
He can't be a garbage person anymore,
I mean, he could.
He could. His gimmick before that was the wife beater and jeans, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll work that, but you know what? Really cool. He's the leader of the my God, my brain just stopped.
The Dark Order.
The Dark Order. I was going to call it the New World Order. I don't know why. I got too much conspiracy theories on my mind.
Did his presence legitimize the Dark Order for you at least 85%? Because it did.
I don't know. Yeah. Because I'm not. I don't. I think it was done misguidedly. The concept of the Dark Order, because they didn't start off as, they're called the Dark Order, but they're trying to lure people into their cult. But why would you join a cult for better if it's called the Dark Order? You know what I mean? Like it didn't. Right. It wasn't, and you could see that they thought this out later. They put it together, which is fine. You're gonna have that. It's a new company with new ideas, and they're gonna try stuff like that. I think this is hitting the maturity point with this, and having Brody Lee there, really cool. I think having Brody Lee and Chris Daniels in that match, it's gonna be great. I like that setup. I'm excited for that. So the other big reveal, what
with the name? 2 on the nose with the name.
Yeah. The other big reveal was Broken Matt Hardy's back in AEW. Is this the only guy? He has brought his gimmick to 3 separate companies. 4 separate companies.
He did it Impact, right?
Impact, Ring of Honor.
WWE.
Yep.
And now AEW. Dude's a genius, man. Dude's a freaking genius.
He's now in AEW. He's going to be the 5th man for the Blood and Guts match, which they're still going to run. Huh?
4th man.
The 5th man.
4th man.
No. Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, right? Hangman, Kenny, Cody
and
Matt and him, 5th man.
Okay. So it's doing 5-on-5, and Kenny's gonna be okay. I'm assuming.
I'm assuming Kenny's going to be okay. Yeah,
Okay.
he's going to be in that match. Very interesting pick. I wonder if there's a swerve coming with him.
With
You
Kenny
know,
or with Hangman?
with Hangman.
Okay.
He seems to be. He seems to. I don't know. I'm curious what they do with them, but I'm excited for that. I'm curious to see what they do with Chris Jericho. I want to see Broken Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho. I want to see Broken Matt and everybody.
hmm
I think this is just a new life on the character, which just another. If you think about the acquisitions AEW has made over the last 3 weeks
Oh my god.
between Lance Archer, Brody Lee, and Matt Hardy. I mean that's kind of
Mhm.
solidifying, that middle range to top range uh, roster, which they didn't have.
The higher mid card. Right.
The
Right.
higher mid card, yeah, which they didn't have. They've had a problem with that because of the lack of talent. But now, and then also the revival's going to be going over, and God knows who else. We know.
Mhm.
I think Brian Cage, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Brian Cage is probably going to go over there.
Does nothing for me.
How happy are you that John Morrison didn't go to AEW?
I don't even think that was an option, man. That dude oozes. Um, not even that dude oozes Sunday Night Heat.
It's fascinating, man. I'm curious if the terrible events in the world that are happening is kind of shifting the WWE philosophy on how they do stuff because they cannot adapt.
hmm
They cannot pivot. They got to stick to the plan. And we were talking about great example. We were talking about the invasion before the show
Oh
started,
God.
right in the chat.
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't that a great example of WWE not knowing how to pivot when something is put in place in front of them? Like, oh, by the
Yeah.
way, your biggest competitor's out of business. You bought them. Now here you go.
hmm
What do you do? It doesn't fit the philosophy of thinking. That's the
They want to
problem.
make that money. They got to make that money. I think the philosophy is one thing, and also like they already know that they're the standard and the constant, so they don't have to do anything. They don't have to
Yeah.
tilt, swerve, pivot, or do anything because they know a they're one of two continuously live programs on TV. You're not going to see Major League Baseball start without arenas full of people, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to get like opening day at City Field to an empty stadium. Like
Yeah.
you can still get wrestling wherever it is, even if they move it to the new Titan Towers and they're wrestling in the parking lot. People will
Yeah.
still tune in. You don't have
Uh,
to deviate from that formula.
but also, I forgot to mention Jeff Cobb.
Jefferson Copperton, man.
Jefferson Cobberton. So, man, what a weird. I'm very interested to see what the rating is going to be tonight.
2 million.
This afternoon when they really. No, you know what? If they did, that would be my God. There's no competition, so it should be more. And the buzz around NXT last night was zero.
Really?
I mean, from just engaging online because I was live tweeting and I was doing all that. Just very little engagement in NXT as far as social media engagement goes.
Mhm.
Did you watch any of it?
No, usually, like honestly, for the last few weeks, I always do the double monitor. But for the last few weeks, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna watch AEW. I'm gonna have a little bit of ice cream, and I'm gonna go to bed. And
Was that
it
your
was.
plan?
I gotta tell you, it's usually my Wednesday plan. Is watch AEW, have a little bit of ice cream, and then go to bed. This is great.
I
It's
just
fantastic.
I think the one that's suffering the most is NXT right now.
Okay.
Um, I, I if I was them, I would move the show. I would move it
Like
from Wednesdays.
Saturday afternoon.
Well, anywhere. Why not put Tuesday? It's not that it's
Mm.
not that necessary to have it on a Wednesday anymore. This show
Well, you know why they have it on a Wednesday. Everybody knows
because
why they have it on a
yeah,
Wednesday.
because they wanted to interfere in AEW, but the problem is they when I'm not talking about the talent because the talent is there for
Yeah.
NXT. The problem is when you are presenting your product in a small building that looks the same every single week, and AEW is putting it in 5,000, 4,000, 10,000 people arenas.
hmm
Um, it's no longer about the match quality. It's more about the presentation.
Absolutely.
And Vince knows that. That's been the Vince tactic since day one. WWE's wrestling in the 80s was not better than Mid-Atlantic or Crockett and all those promotions. It
Right,
wasn't
right.
better. The thing was the presentation was better. You didn't look like you were wrestling in a warehouse
Right, or a smoky gem.
or a smoky gym. Yeah.
I like that they had. I like that AEW just said "F it" and they did everybody's intro with pyro.
As much pyro as possible.
I was like Hangman, and it made me realize yesterday Hangman, that dude gets a lot of pyro.
That dude is good, man.
Oh, here's my pick for the swerve.
Yeah, give it to me.
Matt Jackson turns.
Matt Jackson turns on who? Hangman?
Matt Jackson turns on the Elite.
Oh, that's interesting because he's been the problem one, right?
Well, not only that, but the Young Bucks have survived their entire careers being amazing heels, right? That's why you loved them in Japan.
Yeah.
All this stuff and this. So I think if you do that on a bigger scale by having Matt Jackson join Jericho, you're writing checks for booze like nobody's business, right?
So here's a question for you. Okay.
Shoot.
Um, First of all, I have to give you all the credit in the world about Hangman Page because you've been an advocate for him for like 4 years. This guy, you saw it. It was like when I saw Bret Hart when I was 5 years old, and I said that kid's got it.
Yeah,
I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, you know what? That kid's got it. He's got something.
Listen, as soon as Gallows and Anderson left, I was like, this is the guy. My wife also hates it when she hears you say that because she can't stand Hangman and she hates that I bought a Hangman shirt like 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, she's just like, oh, what is this stupid? And I'm like, hey, listen, he's the man. I wore it to a family party once.
A Hangman shirt?
Yeah, I wore a Hangman shirt to like a family event, and everybody was just like asking me about it, and I was
You should
like,
be like, I'm a big fan of the game.
I'm a
You
big
want to
fan
play?
of
You want to play Hangman?
um,
No, I thought it was a great presentation. Big Sammy Guevara shined yesterday. Chris Jericho was great.
so good.
Just it was when you are not regulated to perform in a box. You have so much more freedom. I mean, you get like here's a great thing on commentary, right? Jericho made Taz pop. He said a joke and Taz laughed. And he goes, "Oh, you're gonna get in trouble. You popped."
Yeah. That 4-man booth yesterday was hysterical. I also really enjoyed Orange Cassidy on commentary yesterday, which
he was great.
Zero, and it was kind of the effing best.
Listen, at the end of the day, I feel like everybody could learn from everybody here. It was a very good show. The wrestling was fine. It was good. Here's the other thing that they did, which I found interesting, and not a lot of people were talking about it. They kind of teased that Kenny and Cody are going to have a thing again.
Listen, they can write a million stories with all these dudes, and they can be on top. Like Kenny and Cody on top for the belt. That's what you're going to see at All In like 2021.
It's going to happen, and it was interesting how they did it because first of all, Kenny's so goofy. Okay, I have to tell you something. The guy is the greatest wrestler in the world, but when he is over the top in character goofy, it's great. When he's like the cleaner and he's just a villain in that sense. I don't like him talking out of character.
Why?
I feel like he's too goofy to be the best in the world.
You want him to be like a serious best bout machine.
That was the problem that they had in Japan with him, is that he was too goofy. And when he became, obviously when he got the title, he kind of cleaned that up. He wasn't as goofy as far as like the jokes and stuff go. But I looked at it, I'm like, somebody tweeted this, and I thought it was hysterical. It was, you have Kenny Omega is the goofiest guy in the ring right now, and Cody has a neck tattoo. And I just thought, I'm like, you know what? I thought that was hysterical. It was funny. I mean, listen, I'm not shitting on the guy, but his character is goofy, like as a person. So it really.
I don't know where you're going with this goofy stuff that you're talking.
I don't like his promos. I don't like Kenny's promos. Okay. That's what I'm saying. I don't like his promo when he's like a normal person. I like him as a pro wrestler. I did like the tease that they did between Cody and Kenny. That was great. You may be right about the Matt Jackson thing.
I think I'm right about that. I have a suggestion for Enchante.
Yes.
So can you start calling Enchante instead of the best bout machine, the best butt machine?
Yes, the best
Please.
butt machine.
That's how you have to get the 8x10s. It's going to say that at the bottom. Enchante at the top, the
The
best
best
butt
butt
machine at the
machine.
bottom.
Somebody needs to make that.
The lipstick kiss and wish you were
Okay.
here with a golden donger.
So
we really need to put these out.
I just sold one for $20. Somebody just bought an Enchante photo. Green Lives Matter. Can you make that? Just go ahead and just make all that Rich said. Let's do some viewer questions also. So prepare your questions in the chat room. We're going to answer your questions. We wanted to do a quick show here today. Obviously, we're on quarantine. And Treehouse Vince, don't forget. Hold on, he just texted me. Don't forget who sent Enchante to you. Oh, don't forget who you sent Enchante to. Oh, no, Treehouse Vince also has Enchante.
It's only 4 people right now, right?
So it's Treehouse Vince, it's Trina, and it's Green Lives Matter. Those are the 3 people that possess that photo. Yes, and you're in possession, but you don't count because you see Enchante regularly.
I do.
you see,
and
you
let
see
me tell you, the best butt machine. Ooh.
Ayaz Akhtar from CNET in the chat room. OCW Fed in the chat room. Green Lives Matter in the chat room. This is a pop-in chat on this very last-minute quarantined episode of Matt Men. Submit your chat questions in the chat room, guys. Also, if you want to fund us, you could join our Patreon, patreon.com/MattMenPodcast. You could go fund us there. Also, you could hit the Super Chat button here and fund us in the Super Chat also if you want to. ProWrestlingTees.com/MattMenPodcast for your shirts. You get a Matt Men Podcast shirt there. We're doing a lot here. There you go.
I'm gonna put on latex gloves and a surgical face mask. Right, I saw a dude this morning. Actually, yesterday I got gas. Yesterday, the guy in front of me, giant surgical mask, giant sunglasses, hat, and the biggest, bluest latex gloves I've ever seen in my life.
I think people are really losing it. So I went to Manhattan yesterday, and the city was empty. I mean, it was utterly desolate. I posted it on my Twitter at Andrew Zarian. You can see a photo of rush hour at 9 a.m., the E train going uptown. It was so empty. Penn Station was so empty. But and then you have people like I saw this man covered head to toe. He was wearing just like a hat covering like up to his eyes. And he was wearing a surgical. All you can see, he was a ninja, this guy. And he's walking around. I'm like, listen, man, if you're that afraid. And he didn't look like he was going to work. I'm just telling you. He didn't look like the working type, this guy.
Right.
I'm like, if you're that concerned, why are you out, dude? Why are you out?
You mean by he didn't look like the working type by like he looked like a bum?
Yeah, not like a homeless bum, but he didn't look like he's like he's in a job that's needed.
Like a deadbeat. He was like a deadbeat dad.
He was like a deadbeat dad. Yeah, he didn't look like he needed to be at work. He didn't look like he was at work.
All right.
Just bizarre. People are freaking out over this. You get it? Listen, if you get it, stay home. If you're sick, stay home. If you're not sick, stay home.
Just stay home.
Just stay home.
Get a bag of apples and just stay home.
Hey, what is that? A bag of apples?
Yeah, just get a bag of apples and stay home. The essentials are just get apples, get some water, and that's it.
All right, here's some questions. OCW Fed TV says, on a scale of 1 to Jesus Christ, what do you rate Cody's neck tattoo, Rich?
Off the charts. I don't think, you know what? Honestly, like it grew on me. The dude could do whatever you want. It's wrestling. It's great for a wrestler. I think when he adds more to it, it's going to look even better.
Oh, God, I hope he adds more. I think the idea in his head was a lot better than what arrived on his neck.
But also think about it this way. Regardless if it was good or bad, all the heels are ragging on it, and that kind of makes for good, funny TV, right?
Yeah, but it has to kill him a little bit, right? I think at this point he knows that it was not the best idea.
He needs to get a worse tattoo so that people would shut up about the first tattoo.
Yeah. Electrifying Radio says, do you think AEW will do more shows like last night, or do you think the buildings will force them into cancellation? So they're running their own building. That building is the Jacksonville Jaguars training facility, which the Khans own the Jaguars. So they're not going to cancel from their own building. That's essentially their performance center. It just happens to be much larger than WWE, so they could put on a show like that. They could leave that stage up indefinitely in that building.
Oh yeah. And you know what? Like that's a very smart move too. Like just go to the set, it'll be like NWA Power almost.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think they should go smaller? I don't even think they need to.
No, it's perfect. Like AEW, that's perfect. I think again, we touched on this before. Like WWE needs to do something about how they're shooting. They need to do something about how they're shooting the product, and also like you can always tell when somebody's not committing to something. And I
Yeah.
think for a lot of the roster, they're kind of phoning it in, being with no studio audience.
For WWE?
Yeah,
Yeah. Listen, these guys are very used to working in front of thousands of people, and now you're in front of
yeah.
nobody. So it kind of sucks the energy out of the room for them. I think the AEW guys have something way more to prove, so they're a little bit more hungry when it comes to that. Personal question: does AEW remind you of how Raw used to be when we were kids and would call each other on the phone and watch? So Jay and I used to talk to each other during Raw. Rich and I used to do it too all the time. I used to
Mhm.
call him during Raw. Yeah, a little bit because it there's a sense of excitement and raw. I mean, for lack of a better term, rawness to the product. It's not
Oh,
as structured. Where before with Monday Night Raw, it wasn't structured at all. They would be in the middle of a match. It would go to the backstage and then it would go to the front. It was all over the place. It was kind of chaotic, the TV.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Here's
yeah.
a question from Soulless. Any WWE pay-per-views that you recently went back and watched because it was that good, Rich?
Ooh, that's a good one. No, but I do have a few that I want to get back to. Specifically, I think it was the second one night stand where it was Edge and somebody versus Tommy Dreamer and Cactus Jack, and also the Backlash. It was another Cactus Jack match. The Backlash, I think it was 2000. I want to say 2004, where Randy and Mick Foley do the hardcore match, and Randy takes the bump on the barbed wire.
Okay. Oh, you know what? That's not a bad. I want to go back and watch that.
Yeah, that's fun.
You know what I went back and watched? For some reason, I don't know why, but I always liked this pay per view. Deadly Games Survivor Series, 1998.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
1998
yeah.
Survivor. So the matches were not good. I
Mhm.
cannot even tell you there was one good match, but that pay per view always resonated with me. Number one, the theme is phenomenal. Great, one of the greatest pay per view themes ever. Two, it was a lot of uncertainty, and again, how uncertainty works. You didn't know who was gonna get it, and Rock had just gone babyface at that moment. It was that very short window where he went from
Mhm.
Nation Rock and then he became a face for a very short period, and then he became corporate. Like it was like a week they gave you with a babyface Rock, and I
Right.
remember just the reaction. I was so angry because I wanted the Rock to be a babyface, but him winning that title to a screw finish was just like, holy shit, what else is gonna happen? There was
What
so
what was
many
the name of
different elements.
what was the name of the pay per view?
Survivor Series, Deadly Games.
Survivor Series '98.
Yeah.
I want to look that up. I want to see the card on this. Survivor Series
Oh, it was
1998.
the card was not great.
Take a look here. Okay, so that's a cool poster. It was like Stone
Yeah, the
Cold
skull.
Skull. Um, this was like a big pay per view too.
So Austin got screwed in this.
Right.
So there were 19 matches on this card. So let's go down this card because it's nuts, and all the matches are like a minute long.
This is a tournament. This was like a big tournament that they did, right?
Yeah,
So
they didn't have the traditional pay per view like Survivor Series style pay per view. It was a tournament for the world title.
it's very fascinating too because like the dark match was before they were too cool, too much, and it was Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor beat the Hardy Boys. This is like also like '98, right? So like the
Yeah,
Hardys haven't really come into their own. Was this pre Gangrel or post Gangrel?
pre Gangrel.
I'm sorry, not Gangrel.
No,
Michael
no, no.
Hayes.
The what?
Michael Hayes. Was this pre Michael Hayes or post Michael
Oh,
Hayes?
I don't know. Maybe during Michael Hayes. Late
Okay.
98, it could have been Michael Hayes.
Job Squad, Bob Holly, and Scorpio with Al Snow defeated the Legion of Doom, but Animal and Draws.
Draws, yeah. He's gonna,
Um,
he's gonna, he's gonna puke.
2 minutes, 17 seconds. Val Venus beat Tiger Ali Singh with Babu.
Babu.
Um, Gangrel with Christian and Edge beat Steve Blackman, 3 minutes. And then it starts with Mankind versus Gilbert.
Yes.
But it was I don't think they billed him as Gilbert. I think it was just Dwayne
Dwayne
Gill.
Gill. Yeah.
And then it goes into Al Snow, Jeff Jarrett, Austin Bossman, Regal X Pac, Shamrock Goldust, Rock Bossman, and it kind of goes through the whole roster, and it ends up, and then there's a break, right? And then a triple threat match for the WWF Tag Team Championships, the Outlaws, D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry, and the Headbangers.
So
With
everybody thought that Austin was winning this.
right,
That's how everybody went into it. And
Mankind beat him.
Mankind beat him, and Mankind was the corporate guy at that point. He was on, McMahon was working him, but the whole point of working Mankind was that he was an idiot, and they just wanted Austin out.
Right.
Fascinating.
I remember this. And also the main event, The Rock beats Mankind via submission in a 17-minute match after these two dudes wrestled like pretty much the entire night. They were such workhorses, man. Shin's got a good question.
Yes.
I know you guys don't touch on the indies that much, but do you think any of them will go under because of this outbreak? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say
And the reason I'm going to say no because a lot of the indies are dudes who are putting up money themselves, right? A lot of it is for the love of wrestling per show. So that means that they're going to have like a little surplus of money. And then once this stuff is all over, I bet you're going to see some even bigger shows happening, like big celebrations.
I think some people are not going to run shows because of attendance issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the bigger indies, like if you consider Evolve or Defy or any of those guys, I think they're going to be fine. GCW, I think those guys are all going to be fine. I think the biggest question is going to be who's in debt right now that needs to pay talent more than anything else. A lot of these guys run smarter now. The independents are not what they were in the 90s.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know. Do you have any more questions there? Yeah. That was
Solus asks, what would have happened if Hogan never went to we did this already. What would have happened if Hogan never went to WCW? I think we did a whole show on this, right?
I think we did a whole thing on it. I can't remember what I said on that show, but if I'm going to think out loud, 93, I think Hogan would have gone away for a little bit and become like a special attraction. Mm-hmm. I think he would have had a very difficult time. He would have gone away, come back, gone away, come back. You would have had big man matches with him, and that's what they would have done with him. I don't think he would have, the 90s boom, I guess that new generation would have still happened, but you would have had a Hogan and a Macho Man there to some extent. I think the era would have benefited for WWE. It wouldn't have been that WWE, Hulk Hogan's not putting the guys over. I think it would have been Hulk Hogan would come in, be a special attraction, and then go away for a little bit.
I agree with that. I do think my one thing as like a fan that we never got to see the angle between Macho Man and Shawn Michaels that Macho Man was pitching hardcore for. Just to be like, listen, if you want me on commentary, this is what I want. I want to have like a nice program with Shawn and eventually put him over, and I'll do whatever you want. And they wouldn't let him have that. Conversely, did you watch that Bret Hart Broken Skull session?
Okay, so I'm going to watch it right after the show, but I did hear that Bret Hart really hates Bill Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. It was really good. It's really cool. With regards to the Hogan thing, he said something that was kind of neat, where he was like, WCW didn't know what to do with me. I should have started out on top, and I should have been putting Hogan and sharpshooters at the end of every show. And I'm like, yo, you know what? That's a great idea. That's what they should have done.
But, you got to think about this, though. Think about the fans. I know a lot of people go with the idea that, Hulk Hogan wasn't going to put Bret Hart over. And obviously, this is all stemming from Hogan coming back, beating Yoko, winning the
Right.
title. Then they even did the photos where Hogan and Bret are fighting over pulling the belt. They did the photo
Right.
shoot
Right.
because
Right.
SummerSlam '93 was going to be Bret versus Hogan, where
Mm,
Bret wins the title from Hogan. I'm going to tell you something. I mean, in looking back at that from how we see wrestling today,
hmm.
that would have been a big oh my god moment. But
Right.
what would that have meant for the fans?
Oh my God.
You got to think about who the fans were. It's us. We were the fans at that point in wrestling. It was a
Who would
much
you?
younger audience. How would you have reacted to Bret Hart beating Hulk Hogan?
I don't know, man. I liked Brett, but I was never like a huge Brett kid.
See,
You know, like
I was a huge Bret
okay,
kid, but I also was a big Hogan fan because that's what got me into wrestling.
of course,
I
yeah.
don't know if I would have liked that, and I don't know if you're supposed to like it.
Uh,
I don't
okay.
just I don't know if it would have helped the cause or it would have caused some sort of revolt in a sense that, come on, get out of here. Bret Hart beat Hulk Hogan.
Brett has had a history of working extremely well with bigger guys. So I think if they went back and forth with that belt, I think it would have been a whole lot of fun.
Just can you imagine that? One is like a cartoon character and one is so dry.
Can you imagine a ladder match
I
between
want to
Hogan
see.
and Bret Hart?
Can you imagine Hulk Hogan climbing the ladder at his house to screw in a light bulb?
No, I can't. I can't. He's one of those guys that like he shouldn't be that high off the ground. Right? Like I get like Coco out of people we know, like a guy like Coco. Like I don't
Coco
want to
should
see that
never
guy
be
on a
off the
ladder.
ground. No.
I don't
Blue
want to
Eyed
see him on a ladder.
Blue Eyed Prince says, do you guys think that WWE has become too predictable compared to what it used to be? Rich, you go first.
100%, 100%. Like we were talking about at the start of the show, I think the mentality or the subliminal message behind what they do is follow the blueprint. If you follow the blueprint, you'll be okay. And that's what they do with everything. It doesn't matter what we think because we're not the ones buying merch. It's the kids and the families who are buying merch and the tickets. You know, like us
Yeah.
as wrestling fans, we have zero to do with their economy at this point, you know, and like because like we're also supporting things like AEW and like indie guys, like trying to get like that merch because it's a little bit cooler. I don't know anybody who is over the age of, let's say, like 20 who's rocking like a Roman Reigns shirt, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, me either. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Chris P
Go
has
ahead.
a good one.
Go.
How pissed do you think McMahon was seeing Hogan actually wrestle the Great Muta?
I do you think he even gave a shit?
I think his reaction was, oh, it'll never get over.
Hogan doing an Insiguri?
Yeah, like Hogan did 3 matches in Japan, right? It was 2 or like 4. What was it, like 2 Muta and then a tag with Muta?
Hulk Hogan. Well, he's on a number. Hulk. Let's see. Let's find him. In that era, you're saying, right?
In that era, because like he technically won one of their weird belts, right? It wasn't the IWGP belt, it was like the international
I don't know.
IWGP belt, which became the
Let's see.
IWGP championship, right? Am I
Let's
wrong
see.
about that?
Okay, so Hulk Hogan in the '80s obviously had a bunch of matches in Japan,
Mhm.
right? Oh my god, he had a ton of matches. I mean, that's pretty much he exclusively wrestled in Japan in 1980.
Yeah. Well, I'm this is the interim between this was like right after WWE
Okay,
contract ends and
yeah.
then
So you want
something
to do
else.
WCW? Okay, so here we go. So he had May 3rd, 1993 in Japan. He defeated Muda. Then he came
Right.
back and tagged with Muta, like you said, in Yokohama in September of '93 against
Hmm.
Power Warrior and Road Warrior Hawk. Then he beat
Right.
Muta again on September 26th of
Okay.
1993. So let's go to 94 now.
He
June,
was
January 4th, 1994. I guess that's the Dome show. Before, I guess it was the Dome show. That's the New Year's show. He beat Fujinami.
okay. So in 83, we're going to go back a little bit. In 83, he beat Antonio Inoki to become the first IWGP champion with the original belt.
Yes, and that match was a total chaotic finish where Inoki fell out of the ring and he was in the hospital. They did this big work on the press in Japan, and people wanted to kill him.
So weird.
So Hogan had no Japanese matches throughout his WCW run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at 99 right now, and I'm not seeing anything beyond 94.
Next year he's gonna be in a G1.
Nothing in
This year.
2000. Nothing 2001. 2002, nothing. 2003. I thought he went back and he did something. Yes, 2003 he went back to Japan. Here we go. New Japan. He wrestled Masa Chono.
Okay, cool.
October 13th.
Who he knew from WCW.
Yeah.
Right?
So he wrestled Chono in 2003. 2006, 2007.
Brother.
He had one match in 2006, one match in 2007. Then he did his Hulk Hogan tour in 2009. 2010, he had two matches in Impact where Abyss and Hogan teamed up against AJ Styles and Flair. 2011, he wrestled at Bound for Glory against Sting. 2012, he had two matches in TNA it was Hulk Hogan, James Storm, and Sting teaming up in the UK.
I think two things. I think Hogan missed out on a really quick ECW run and a really quick...
Can you imagine? I just want you. I want you to picture this, okay? It's 1990. It's early '98 in Philly in the ECW arena, and Hulk Hogan comes out in the red and yellow.
Okay. Would he get booed out of the building, or would all the marks in the crowd shit their pants?
I think they would just shit their pants. I think all those marks would shit their pants. Yeah, they would just crap their pants.
I think that would have been the biggest news in wrestling if like Hogan did a surprise, like full on Hogan did a surprise appearance at like a December to Dismember show or something.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something, brother.
Let me tell you something, Raven.
Let's see. Anything else here? What else do we have here?
Let me tell you something, Tommy Dreamer. I was sitting in the back and I couldn't help but overhear you. It's like he's sitting in the back. What do you mean he's sitting in the... Let me tell you something, Shane Douglas. Oh my God.
Oh my
God.
Good.
Or Hogan early 2000s Ring of Honor.
What would be the move that would okay, Hogan in Ring of Honor early 2000s. Like let's go 04, 2004 Ring of Honor, 2005 Ring of Honor. Hulk Hogan is in there. It's Nigel McGuinness. Okay, this is the match. It's a triple threat match for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Okay,
my God.
It's Nigel McGuinness, Bryan Danielson, and Hulk Hogan. What's the move that Hogan does that the whole 300 people in that building kind of lose their minds?
So he's got two of the guys prone in the corner in the ring with like their heads kind of facing each other, right? Like Danielson and McGuinness, right? They're both flat on their back. Hogan decides to drop the leg from the third rope on both of them at the same time.
Okay. I was going to go with a swanton.
Oh my God. Hogan doing a swanton. It would be the most amazing thing in the world.
I think you know what happens when Hogan goes for it? I think he kind of, you know how you got to go like this? Hogan just goes like this.
It's almost a leg drop.
It's almost a leg drop still, but with his head. Oh my God.
I would have loved to see a Ring of Honor match between CM Punk, Samoa Joe, and Hulk Hogan. Full on red and yellow. Just
full on underwear red and yellow, not the pants.
Not even reacting to the crowd, because I feel like, and that's it, like no selling it, where everybody's just booing the crap out of him.
Oh,
and you got your two biggest indie darlings, and then all the I couldn't help but hear something from the back, brother. What's up with that Pepsi tattoo? I'll drink you like a Pepsi, and that's it. That's money's made right there.
Yeah, money's made. That's the moment. Freaking. You know what? Oh, how come he never just like? If I was him, I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna show up in Ring of Honor and work for free. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. He just shows up in his gear. Can you imagine Hogan just shows up at a Ring of Honor in his gear and he's like, all right, who am I working tonight?
And they're like, "Oh my God, who do you like? Who do you want to work? Who do you want to work? And I want to work Dalton Castle and the boys."
Perfect.
We're
All
having too
right.
much fun with this.
Any more questions, or we're wrapping it up here? I
Oh
think
my
that's
God!
it. I think we're wrapping it up. All right, Rich.
All
That
right,
was
brother.
fun. The second episode of Matt Men this week. We wanted to do a quick show here. We ended up doing 50 minutes. I had said 40 minutes, but we did 10 minutes more. A lot of fun. Next couple of weeks, we'll see what happens. We might be doing more of these.
Yeah, dude, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Subscribe to us. We're here on YouTube. We're here everywhere podcasts are available. Subscribe to us. It's a huge help. Also, join our Patreon, patreon.com/MattMenPodcast. Go there, subscribe to us, and we'll see you all next time. Take care, guys.
Later, brother.